Hello everyone, today I'll be showing you part 1 of how to make a zombie apocalypse game. Start creating a new project with me. In this episode, we're going to be making simple player movement and projectile launching. Delete this cat right here and draw a new sprite. Call the sprite player. Now zoom in and create a circle with 0 outline. You can make it whatever color you want. I'm going to make it black. Now click on the shift key and create and click on the circle and click on the shift key and create a circle like this, and it'll be perfectly like a circle. You can drag it into the center. If you want to make it smaller, press Alt and bring it in together. Now make sure this circle is centered into the and snapped into the center. Now get a square, also make it black, and make it like a cannon, like this. After that, make a line and make it an outline of 5. Then bring it from like right there and create this part of the cannon and this part of the cannon. Also, an additional detail, select this part in the curving tool and also select this part, and then select this part and this part, and then delete these corners. This creates like a cool effect on the top. Now make a square and fill it with nothing, so like it's clear, and then put it on the whole thing. That just increases like the graphics a bit. Now let's code the player. Bring in one flat clicked block and then bring a forever loop. Now let's create two new variables. Delete my variable and make a variable called x speed for this sprite only. And then create another variable naming it y speed, also for this sprite only. So when green flag clicked, before we do the forever loop, set x speed to 0. Also set y speed to 0. Now bring an if loop, if then, and bring an or operator. Then put if key up arrow or key W pressed. Then change y speed by 1. Duplicate this and put down arrow and S key and change it by -1. Now duplicate this whole thing, put it under there, and put key right arrow pressed and do X speed instead of Y speed, and put this key D. In this one put left arrow and key A and change X speed by 1. Now as you can see, the player can move like the variables change, but it doesn't move the player. It just doesn't move the player. You see, it's moving, but it just doesn't move the player. So bring in a change y by, and bring in y speed, and then change x by, bring in x speed. So now, as you can see, it can move around, but it can move endlessly in one direction. So let's just make the friction. Hide these variables. Bring another when flag clicked, and bring a forever loop. Now, bring an if. So if 0 is bigger than y speed, then change y speed by 1. But if y speed is bigger than 0, if y speed is greater than 0, then change y speed by -1. So this ensures it always goes back to 0. Now let's do the same with the x speed. Duplicate these and put if x speed is less than 0, and change this to x speed. Also change this to x speed and this to x speed. Now as you can see, it's doing this, but it's not having any friction. So to make any friction, we have to make changing it less than this. So make this 0.5 and make this -0.5, and then also make this 0.5 and this -0.5. So now, as you can see, it has like a friction. Now it also needs to point towards the mouse pointer. So bring in point towards mouse pointer, put it right here. Also in the beginning, hop in, go to 0, 0. Now we have the player code. It goes to 0, 0. You can move around. As you can see, we can move around. But now we want to shoot projectile. So bring in, paint a new sprite and call it bullet. Now zoom in. I think I'm gonna color mine maybe like red, and I'm gonna give it a little outline of black. Yeah, maybe like 2 outline. So make it like this big. It's a bit too big. Zoom it in a bit. That's good enough. Like this is good enough. Now we want to take out some of the sides. So put one in the center, one right there, and one right here. And do the same with the other side. And then delete this part and this part. Also you delete this one and this one. By the way, when you want to delete them, you delete them by double clicking them, or there's a delete thing right here, a delete button. So you just need to trim the sides. Now, maybe we can decrease the size of it. Press the Alt key and change the size like this. Now it's a good amount. Also, we're gonna increase the graphics a bit by filling a square with nothing and putting it around the bullet so it looks a bit better. So let's code this. When flag clicked, we want to hide the original sprite. Forever, if bring in or key space or mouse down pressed or mouse down, then create clone of myself. And then we also want to wait a bit, so wait 0.25 seconds. Now in the future, we might fiddle with this a bit because we might add upgrades, but right now let's just put it 0.25. Now drag in a when I start as a clone. So want to go to player, so drag in a go to player, point in direction, and now go to sensing, and you see backdrop of number of stage, bring it in, but instead of that, bring in the player, and there's a direction, so it points in the direction of player. We also want to move it like 30 steps. Make sure this is after the point in the direction of player. So move it 30 steps, which makes it look more realistic because we don't want it coming out from the center of the player. And now we also want to go to back layer, so because it looks more realistic. And then show the clone. Now bring in a forever. If touching edge, delete this clone. So when it touches edge, it deletes clone. And then it moves 10 steps before that. So now, as you can see, it can shoot. You can shoot, but maybe 10 steps is a bit too much. Create that, fiddle it down to 5. Now you can shoot, but that's a bit too slow. How about we make it 7? Now this is the end of the tutorial today. Thank you for watching, and see you in the next episode.